Captain James Walker stood at the viewport of his merchant vessel, Star Wanderer, staring at the strange readings on his scanner. Something was wrong with the star charts again. This was the third time this month that his navigation system had shown errors in mapping what should have been well-known space. The aging captain ran his hand through his gray hair, squinting at the holographic display. His ship's computer insisted that this sector had always been empty, but he remembered differently. There used to be a trading post here, run by the Galactic Council. Now there was nothing but empty space. "Computer, show historical data for this sector," he commanded, his voice rough from years of breathing recycled ship air. The response was the same as always: no historical data available. Sector has maintained current configuration for all recorded history. Walker knew better. He had been running cargo through these lanes for 30 years, and his father had done the same before him. Things were disappearing, not just from space, but from memory itself. Even his own crew seemed to forget things that had happened just months ago. In his private quarters, Walker kept a physical logbook. Actual paper and ink, something most spacers considered absurdly outdated. But there was something about it that felt right, felt safe. He pulled it out now, flipping through pages of his cramped handwriting. Yes, there it was. Coordinates for the trading post, recorded just last year. He wasn't going crazy. The ship's sensors suddenly came alive with new readings. Walker's eyes widened as he saw what looked like the remnants of an ancient structure floating in the darkness ahead. "Computer, full stop. Launch scanner probe." As the small probe zipped out into space, Walker's hands moved across his control panel with practiced ease. The object was unlike anything he'd seen before, a geometric shape that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The probe's initial scan suggested it was made of materials that weren't in any known database. Captain, his first officer, Tom Reed, burst onto the bridge. "You need to see this. The probe's finding writing on that thing out there." Walker enhanced the image, and his breath caught in his throat. The markings were in an old Earth script, English, but that was impossible. According to every official record, Earth was just a myth, a story told by drunk spacers in seedy bars on the outer rim. The message was simple: remember us. Walker's hands trembled as he copied the coordinates into his paper logbook. This wasn't the first hint he'd found of humanity's existence, but it was the most concrete. Someone somewhere had gone to enormous lengths to hide all traces of human civilization from the galaxy. But they had also left breadcrumbs, deliberate clues for those who knew where to look. The ship's computer suddenly sparked, screens flickering with static. "Warning. Unauthorized historical data detected. Initiating memory purge protocols." "Override," Walker shouted. But it was too late. The probe's data was already being erased, the coordinates of their discovery wiped from the system. But Walker smiled, patting his logbook. They couldn't erase paper. Later that night, as the Star Wanderer continued its journey through the trade lanes, Walker sat in his quarters, adding to his growing collection of anomalies and clues. Humanity wasn't just forgotten. It had been deliberately erased. The question was why, and more importantly, who had done it. His research was interrupted by a soft chime from his personal terminal. An encrypted message had somehow slipped past the ship's communications filters. The sender was anonymous, but the content made Walker's heart race. "You're not alone. Others remember. Meet us at the coordinates attached. Bring your logbook. Trust no digital systems. They're watching." Walker looked out his cabin window at the endless field of stars. Out there somewhere was the truth about humanity's disappearance, and he was getting closer to finding it. He picked up his pen and began to write. Day 2847 of the search. Finally made contact. Perhaps now we'll learn why humanity chose to be forgotten. Dr. Ann Miller brushed dust from the strange metal panel she had uncovered. The dig site on planet X-227 had seemed ordinary at first, just another ancient ruin from some long-dead civilization. But this was different. The technology she found here wasn't like anything in the Galactic Council's databases. She pulled a small light from her pocket, careful not to use any electronic scanning devices. 3 weeks ago, she had learned the hard way that modern technology somehow interfered with these artifacts. Her entire team's data had been wiped clean when they tried to scan similar ruins on another world. The metal panel had a familiar shape, a handprint. Not the 3-fingered prints common to most known species, but a 5-fingered hand. Like her own hand. Anne looked around to make sure she was alone, then pressed her palm against the panel. A soft blue light pulsed beneath her fingers, and the wall in front of her slid open silently. Her heart raced. This wasn't just ancient technology. This was human technology. Technology that, according to every historical record, couldn't exist. Inside the hidden room, she found more proof. Tools, furniture, and writing that could only have come from Earth. But the truly shocking discovery was a simple metal box with a mechanical lock. No electronics, just simple machinery that had survived centuries. Inside the box was a letter, written on paper that somehow hadn't crumbled to dust. The handwriting was clear. To whoever finds this, if you can read these words, you're probably human. We hid ourselves for a reason. The others aren't ready yet, but if you're reading this, maybe the time is coming. Find the others. The keepers will know. Anne's hands shook as she read the words again. The keepers. She had heard whispers of them in her research, but always dismissed them as myths. A secret organization of humans, hiding among the stars, guarding some ancient secret. It had seemed impossible. A noise from outside the room made her jump. She quickly folded the letter and slipped it into her pocket. Just in time, her research assistant, Ben, appeared at the doorway. Dr. Miller, there's a ship requesting landing clearance. Says they're here about the artifacts. Anne frowned. They hadn't reported their findings to anyone yet. What kind of ship? That's the strange thing, Ben said, looking confused. It's not in any registry I can find. The captain says his name is Walker. Anne's heart skipped a beat. She had heard that name before, in encrypted messages passed through old-style radio frequencies. A spacer who asked too many questions about Earth, who kept records on paper instead of computers. Tell them they can land, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. And Ben, don't log this in the official records. Just forget about it. After Ben left, Anne pulled out her own paper notebook, a habit her colleagues had always mocked. She had found similar sites on 3 other worlds now, all with the same characteristics. Human architecture hidden beneath alien ruins, technology that rejected modern scanning, and always some small sign left deliberately for others to find. When Walker's ship landed an hour later, Anne was waiting. The old captain stepped out, carrying a worn leather book under his arm. Their eyes met, and without speaking, they both knew. They were part of something bigger than themselves. You found something, didn't you? Walker asked quietly. Something that wasn't supposed to exist. Anne nodded, touching the letter in her pocket. I think it's time we talked about Earth, Captain, and about why our entire civilization chose to disappear. Behind them, unnoticed, the ruins seemed to pulse with a faint blue light. In orbit high above, automated systems that had slept for centuries began to wake up. The time of hiding was coming to an end. The massive Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. On the main display screen, reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. Ancient structures, previously thought to be natural formations, were coming alive. Lights pulsed beneath the surfaces of moons. Strange signals emerged from gas giants. Hidden doorways opened in asteroid belts. In the midst of the confusion, High Counselor Thax slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor. Order. We must have order. But order was becoming harder to maintain. Every hour brought new reports of ancient systems activating. The galaxy's carefully mapped infrastructure was revealing itself to be something else entirely. A vast network of human technology, disguised and dormant for centuries. Meanwhile, aboard the Star Wanderer, Captain Walker and Dr. Miller watched the news feeds with growing concern. They had found more than they bargained for in the ruins. The letter wasn't just a message, it was a key, and they had accidentally activated it. "Look at this," Anne said, spreading her papers across Walker's desk. "Every major space lane in the galaxy runs along paths that were established thousands of years ago. We all assumed they were natural hyperspace corridors." Walker nodded grimly. "But they're not natural at all, are they? They're human-made highways." "Exactly. Humanity didn't just disappear. They built the foundation of galactic civilization and then hid themselves inside it." Anne pointed to her calculations. "These aren't just random activations. The systems are waking up in a pattern." The ship's old radio crackled to life. They had stopped using modern communications after discovering most were compromised. A voice emerged through the static. "This is the Keeper Council. To all who remember, the time has come. Protocol 7 is now in effect." Walker grabbed his logbook, flipping through the pages frantically. Protocol 7. I've seen this mentioned before. In the old trading posts, before they vanished. Something about a defensive network. The ship shuddered as another wave of activations swept through the sector. Through the viewport, they watched as a nearby moon's surface shifted, revealing massive engineering works beneath its false crust. "Captain," Anne said quietly, "I don't think humanity was hiding from the galaxy. I think they were hiding the galaxy from something else." A new signal cut through their radio, this one automated and repeating. "Defense Grid Alpha now online. Threat detection systems initializing. All sectors prepare for Category Omega response." In the Galactic Council chamber, the ancient floor suddenly split open. A platform rose from below, carrying a holographic projection system unlike anything the council members had ever seen. A human figure appeared, not a recording, but a live transmission. "Honorable council members," the figure said, "I am Director Stone of the Keepers. For centuries, we have watched and waited. We hid ourselves and our technology to protect you all. But now, the threat we feared has returned. The galaxy must prepare." Back on the Star Wanderer, Walker and Anne received new coordinates, the location of the nearest Keeper facility. As they plotted their course, more ships appeared on their sensors. Other searchers, other rememberers, all converging on similar locations throughout the galaxy. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Anne asked, watching the ancient systems come alive around them. Activating that signal. Walker looked at his worn logbook, then at the transforming space around them. "We didn't have a choice. Look." He pointed to a new reading on their sensors. At the edge of known space, something massive was moving. Something that had been waiting for countless years, watching for signs of human technology to reactivate. Whatever humanity was hiding from, Walker said, "It's already here. And now we have to remember how to fight it." The Star Wanderer's engines hummed as they set course for the Keeper facility. Behind them, more ships emerged from hiding, their hulls bearing markings that hadn't been seen in centuries. Humanity's long silence was over. The real war was about to begin. The archive was nothing like Walker had imagined. Instead of a dusty library or a computer core, it was a vast chamber deep beneath an unmarked moon's surface. The walls were lined with crystals that glowed with a soft blue light, each containing memories and knowledge preserved from Earth. Dr. Miller walked beside him, her hand brushing against the crystal surfaces. Every touch made images flicker to life. Scenes from humanity's past, preserved perfectly for centuries. Behind them, Director Stone of the Keepers watched silently. "Show them," Stone commanded, and the entire chamber came alive with light. The images that filled the air made both Walker and Anne step back in shock. They saw Earth, but not as a single world. They saw humanity spreading across thousands of planets, building wonders that dwarfed anything the current Galactic Council had achieved. "We were everywhere," Stone explained, his voice heavy with the weight of history. "We had mastered technologies that the current galaxy's species haven't even dreamed of yet. And then they came." The images shifted, showing something massive moving between the galaxies. It was darker than the space around it, as if it absorbed not just light, but reality itself. The Void Ones, Stone said. They consume civilizations, not just the people or the planets, but the very memory that those civilizations ever existed. We found the ruins of their previous victims, entire galaxies emptied of intelligent life. Walker pulled out his logbook, his hands shaking as he wrote. So humanity didn't just hide. We erased ourselves on purpose. Stone nodded. We realized we couldn't fight them directly, but we could hide our galaxy's potential for intelligent life. We built the foundations for other species to develop, but kept the most dangerous technologies hidden. We became the galaxy's secret guardians. The trading posts, the space lanes, even the council chambers. Anne said, understanding dawning in her eyes. All of it was built by humans, wasn't it? Yes. We guided the development of younger species from the shadows, making sure they developed in ways that wouldn't attract the Void One's attention. Stone touched one of the crystals, and new images appeared. But now, they found us anyway. The chamber darkened as it showed current images from the galaxy's edge. The darkness between stars was moving, taking shape. The Void Ones had returned. Why show us this now? Walker asked. Why not keep hiding? Because hiding isn't enough anymore, Stone replied. The Void Ones have evolved. They've learned to detect the subtle signs of our technology. The more advanced the galaxy becomes, the harder it is to hide everything. Anne studied the crystal nearest to her, seeing complex equations and designs. These are weapon plans, she realized. Weapons designed to fight beings that eat reality itself. Correct. Humanity didn't just hide. We spent centuries preparing. Every piece of technology we left behind can be converted to serve in the defense network. But we need help now. We need the younger species to understand and join us. A sudden alarm echoed through the chamber. New images appeared, showing the darkness at the galaxy's edge growing larger. The Void Ones were moving faster now. How long do we have? Walker asked, still writing in his logbook. Stone's face was grim. Days, maybe hours. The automated defense grid is activating, but it needs guidance. That's why we needed you both. Us? Anne asked. What can we do? Captain Walker, you found our breadcrumbs, kept paper records when everyone else trusted computers. Dr. Miller, you understood our technology when others dismissed it as myth. You both proved you can think in ways the Void Ones don't expect. Stone touched another crystal, and a hidden door opened in the chamber's wall. Now we need you to help us wake up the rest of humanity. Through the doorway, they saw rows of stasis pods stretching into darkness. Humanity's greatest minds and warriors, preserved through the centuries, waiting for the moment they would be needed again. The Galactic Council chamber had changed. Where once alien representatives sat in neat rows, now awakened humans in military uniforms worked at ancient control stations that had emerged from the walls. The air hummed with power as long-dormant systems came fully online. Director Stone stood at the central platform, surrounded by holographic displays showing the Void Ones advance. Behind him, Captain Walker and Dr. Miller watched as newly awakened human military leaders coordinated with alien fleet commanders. The Void Ones have detected our defense grid activation, Admiral Reed announced, his voice strong despite centuries in stasis. They're moving faster than expected. Multiple contact points along the galactic rim. Walker studied his logbook, comparing old notes to new sensor data. They're following the same patterns I recorded at the trading posts. They can sense active technology. Correct, Stone said, which is why we need to wake up our hidden colonies now. He turned to Anne. Dr. Miller, the artifacts you found weren't just messages. They were keys to our storage worlds. Anne unfolded the letter she had found in the ruins. Hidden in its simple text was a complex code. Coordinates for dozens of secret human worlds, each protected by technology that made them appear as lifeless rocks to normal sensors. How many humans are still out there? She asked, looking at the coordinates. Millions, Stone replied, hidden in stasis, scattered across the galaxy. Each group preserved with different skills and knowledge, waiting for this moment. The chamber shook as the first attacks reached the outer defense grid. On the displays, they watched as massive void ships emerged from the darkness between stars. Their surfaces seemed to bend reality itself, making them hard to look at directly. "My crew," Walker said suddenly. "All these years, some of them were your people, weren't they? Keeping watch on me." Stone nodded. "We had to make sure the right people found our clues. People who could think independently, who wouldn't rely too heavily on modern technology." Another tremor ran through the chamber. Admiral Reed's voice rang out. "First contact with void forces in Sector 7. Defense grid responding." On the screens, they watched as hidden weapons platforms emerged from gas giants and asteroid fields. Energy beams that seemed to cut through space itself lanced out at the void ships. Some hit their targets, causing the dark vessels to break apart into fragments of twisted spacetime. But more kept coming. "We're losing contact with sectors 12 through 15, a technician reported. "The Void Ones are consuming all matter and energy in their path." Stone's face was grim. "Launch the wake-up signals. All colonies. All facilities. We can't wait any longer." Across the galaxy, hidden human worlds began to stir. Mountains split open to reveal vast cities. Oceans parted as undersea bases rose to the surface. Clouds dissipated to unveil floating fortresses that had masqueraded as weather formations. The alien members of the Galactic Council watched in awe as humanity's true power was revealed. But with that revelation came fear. "All this time," one council member said, "you were here, watching, controlling our development, protecting you, and corrected, giving you time to grow without attracting their attention." Walker added another note to his logbook, then looked up at the displays. The Void Ones were still advancing, but now they faced a galaxy awakening to its full potential. Hidden human colonies deployed fleets of ships that had been waiting centuries for this battle. Alien forces, guided by newly awakened human tacticians, formed up alongside them. "Sir," Admiral Reed called out, "all sectors reporting. The defense grid is fully online. Human colonies are awakened. We're ready." Stone looked at Walker and Anne, then at the assembled forces of humanity and their alien allies. "Send the signal," he ordered. "The time for hiding is over. Now we show them why humanity chose to wait in the shadows." The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. Dr. Miller stood in the archive's deepest chamber, surrounded by the oldest memory crystals humanity had preserved. While battles raged across the galaxy, she had found something in the ancient data, a pattern that everyone else had missed. "Look at this," she called to Walker, who was updating his logbook nearby. "The Void Ones don't just consume reality. They feed on unity. The more connected and standardized a civilization becomes, the easier it is for them to devour it." Walker looked up from his writing. "That's why humanity split up and went into hiding, to become harder to consume." "Exactly." Anne touched one of the crystals, showing ancient battles where previous civilizations had fallen to the Void Ones. Every civilization they destroyed was unified. Single governments, standardized technology, connected systems. But humanity, we scattered, Walker finished, became different, unpredictable. Above them, the battle continued. The defensive grid was holding, but barely. Void ships had breached several sectors, their reality-bending weapons tearing holes in space itself. But something strange was happening. The attacks were becoming less effective. Director Stone rushed into the chamber, his usual calm demeanor showing cracks of excitement. "The alien fleets, they're adapting. Each species is fighting differently, using their own unique strategies. The Void Ones can't predict them." On the main displays, they watched as alien ships fought alongside hidden human vessels. But unlike traditional battles where fleets moved in coordination, each group fought in their own way. Some used speed and stealth, others relied on brute force. The chaos of their different approaches was actually working in their favor. "That's it," Anne exclaimed. "The defense isn't about the weapons. It's about diversity. Humanity didn't just hide to protect the galaxy. We stayed hidden to ensure other species would develop independently." The chamber's crystals pulsed with new energy as Anne's insight triggered more hidden data. Ancient human leaders appeared in holographic form, explaining their plan. Humanity had discovered that the Void Ones could only consume what they could understand and predict. By becoming scattered and hidden, humans had made themselves harder to track. By allowing other species to develop naturally, they had created a galaxy full of unpredictable variables. Walker added this revelation to his logbook, his hands shaking with understanding. "All these years, I thought finding other humans would make us stronger. But our real strength is in our differences." Stone finished. "Quick, send this to all sectors. Tell each fleet to stop trying to coordinate. Let each group fight in their own way." The message spread across the battlefield. Alien commanders, freed from trying to follow standard tactics, began fighting with their species' unique strengths. The Void Ones' advance began to falter as they faced thousands of different attack patterns instead of a single unified response. "Sir," a keeper technician called from above. "The Void ships, they're starting to break apart. They can't maintain their form when they can't predict attack patterns." In the space above the galactic core, the largest Void ships began to collapse. Their reality-bending hulls cracked as they tried and failed to adapt to the chaos of thousands of different combat styles and technologies. "We need to push harder," Stone ordered. "Wake the rest of the colonies, but tell them to maintain their differences. We don't need unity to win. We need diversity." Anne looked at the tactical displays, watching as human colonies revealed themselves across the galaxy. But instead of forming a single unified force, each colony emerged with its own unique technology and tactics, evolved through centuries of isolation. Together yet separate, humanity and their alien allies were becoming something the Void Ones had never encountered before. A civilization strong because of its divisions, not despite them. Walker wrote one final note in his logbook. "Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our preparations. It was our choice to become many instead of one." The tide of battle was turning, but the greatest revelation was still to come. The Star Wanderer's engines hummed as Captain Walker guided his ship through a fold in space that shouldn't have existed. Beside him, Dr. Miller watched as ancient coordinates scrolled across the screen. Coordinates that had been hidden in plain sight throughout human space. "Are you sure about this?" Walker asked, checking his logbook one last time. "If we're wrong." "We're not wrong," Anne replied. "Every clue, every hidden message, they all point to this location. Earth wasn't just hidden. It was moved." Behind them, Director Stone and Admiral Reed monitored the battle reports. The Void Ones were retreating across the galaxy, unable to cope with the chaotic, diverse resistance they faced. But everyone knew they would return unless humanity's final secret was unveiled. The ship emerged from the space fold into a region that had been marked as a dead zone on every star chart for centuries. But it wasn't empty. Before them floated a blue-green planet, hidden behind layers of technology that bent light and reality around it. "Earth," Walker whispered, writing in his logbook with trembling hands. "It was here all along." The planet was surrounded by a vast network of stations and satellites, each one a different design, each contributing to the massive illusion that had kept Earth hidden for so long. As they watched, the cloaking field began to fade, revealing the cradle of humanity in all its glory. "Now we know why the Void Ones couldn't find us," Anne said, studying the readings. "Earth wasn't just cloaked. It was shifting between different realities, never staying in one place long enough to be detected." Stone nodded. "The ultimate expression of our strategy, not just divided in space, but in reality itself." The ship's communication system crackled to life, using frequencies that hadn't been heard in centuries. A voice spoke, not the automated messages they were used to, but a living person from Earth's surface. "Welcome home, children of Earth. We've been waiting for you to find us." The main screen lit up with images from the planet below. Earth wasn't a preserved relic. It was a thriving world. While most of humanity had scattered across the stars, a core group had remained behind, advancing their technology in ways even the Void Ones couldn't comprehend. "The final piece," Admiral Reed said with awe. "Earth itself became our greatest weapon, proof that a civilization can advance without becoming predictable." Walker added a new entry to his logbook as more ships emerged from space folds, vessels from every human colony and alien fleet, drawn to the coordinates they had discovered. Each was different, evolved through centuries of isolation, yet all were somehow perfectly complementary. "Look," Anne pointed to her screens. "The Void Ones, they're not just retreating. They're breaking apart. The reality shifts around Earth are destroying their ability to maintain cohesion." Stone smiled for the first time since they'd known him. "Of course, they feed on predictability, on patterns they can consume. But Earth has become the ultimate expression of chaos theory, infinite variation within a single system." The galaxy was changing. As Earth's location was revealed, new connections formed between scattered human colonies and alien civilizations. But these weren't the standardized links of the past. Each connection was unique, maintaining the diversity that had proven to be their strongest defense. Walker made the final entry in his logbook. "Earth was never lost. It was teaching us a lesson. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. Strength doesn't come from being the same, but from celebrating our differences." As the Star Wanderer settled into orbit around humanity's homeworld, the crew watched a new age begin. The time of hiding was over, but the legacy of those centuries would live on. A galaxy united not by similarity, but by its infinite variety. The human race had not only survived, it had shown the galaxy a new way to exist. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Void Ones retreated, unable to comprehend or consume a civilization that had turned chaos itself into an art form.